Hey everyone! Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Jane, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Young and the Restless, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. The show The Young and the Restless has always thrived on emotional confrontations, dramatic turns, and the revelation of long-kept secrets. Traci Abbott, a character who has frequently served as a calming factor within the Abbott family, takes a startling and potentially explosive action in one of the most captivating recent spoilers. She brings her kid to Nice and, in doing so, reveals the baby's father. The greater dynamics of the Abbott family and the program as a whole, in addition to Traci's personal storyline, are significantly impacted by this event. Historically, Traci has been characterized as devoted, caring, and a little quiet in contrast to her more talkative siblings, Ashley and Jack. This new development, however, raises the possibility that she was hiding something that might have changed her function in Genoa City. There are several ramifications to her choice to bring her son to Nice. Nice serves as a symbolic setting since it is a place of beauty, romance, and escape that is very different from the competitive corporate world of Jabot Cosmetics and the family conflicts that frequently rule the Abbott home. By picking this setting, the authors might be hinting either a new beginning for Traci, or possibly a confrontation that has been simmering for years. The fact that she is now disclosing the baby's father's name implies that she has either been anticipating this moment or that it has been imposed upon her by events. The latter seems more feasible given Traci's propensity for caution, something where someone has pushed her to the point where she can no longer afford to keep it a secret. The most intriguing part of this bombshell is who the baby's father is. There have been paternity questions on The Young and the Restless for a long time, and this one might affect several plotlines. If the father is a well-known character from Genoa City or someone already ingrained in the show's universe, the discovery may rekindle existing conflicts or forge new ones. For example, Traci's son might be used as a pawn in more significant power battles if the father is a figure with connections to the Abbott family's commercial or personal rivals. If the father is someone completely different, on the other hand, the show might be bringing in a new character to create drama. It's more likely that the father has prior connections to Traci's history given the show's preference for interconnected histories, which heightens the impact of the discovery. This information will surely have an impact on Traci's relationships with her siblings. In addition to having a strong sense of family legacy, Jack Abbott, the patriarch of the family, has always been protective of his sisters. When he finds out that Traci has hidden such a big secret, how will he respond? Will he view it as a betrayal of family trust or will he be supportive? Given her own complex past with secrets and family conflict, Ashley Abbott, who has gone through her fair share of personal and professional struggles, would react with understanding. Ashley may react far less sympathetically, though, if the baby's father has a connection to her past, possibly an old romantic partner or rival. Infighting is nothing new to the Abbott family, and Traci's secret might be the catalyst that rekindles long-suppressed animosities. Then there's the matter of what effect this will have on Traci's son. He may go on a path of self-discovery, or resentment, if he has remained ignorant of his father's identity up until this point. Parentage plotlines have already been explored on The Young and the Restless, frequently with tragic results. What sort of relationship would exist between Traci's son and his father if he were to seek him out? Would Traci experience more heartache if the father rejected the news or was he ready to connect? Future episodes that explore identity, forgiveness, and the intricacies of familial ties may find a wealth of material in the emotional consequences from this revelation. How this plot relates to the show's larger themes is another point of view to take into account. Personal drama and high-stakes business intrigue have always been balanced on The Young and the Restless. Could Traci's father or son potentially get caught up in the ongoing power conflicts at Newman Enterprises or Jabot? For instance, the disclosure may have both personal and professional repercussions if the father is a business rival. On the other hand, the disclosure can cause problems for a number of relationships outside the Abbott family if the father is someone Traci's former partner who has since moved on to a new life. This plotline has the ability to successfully integrate personal and professional problems, a skill the show excels at. Another important component of this spoiler is Traci's character growth. She has been the Abbott family's calm, reliable confidant for years. She settles conflicts, gives wise counsel, and hardly ever takes the stage. She may experience a sea change as a result of this plot, which compels her to take on a more active part in the family's drama. How will she respond to the consequences of her secret being made public? Will the pressure make her further retreat, or will she embrace a new assertiveness? The authors have the chance to develop Traci's character further by revealing previously unseen facets of her resiliency, weakness, or even rebellion. It's also worthwhile to examine the timing of this discovery. Major plot twists are frequently introduced on The Young and the Restless during sweeps periods or prior to important show milestones. Could a family reunion, a significant conflict, or perhaps the departure of a character result from this plot point, or is it a part of a broader narrative shift? The choice to take Traci's son to Nice, a place that seems purposefully picked for its symbolic significance, implies that this isn't only a small side story but rather a crucial turning point in the series' plot. The way this plot develops will be greatly influenced by fan reactions. Viewers may have strong feelings about Traci being at the center of such a dramatic change because she has always been a beloved character. Will they find it admirable that she chose to preserve the secret, or will they think it was uncharacteristic? To keep the audience interested, the authors will have to strike a balance between emotional realism and shock value. This has the potential to be one of the most memorable Traci Abbott plots in recent memory if it is handled properly. Finally, the spoiler that reveals the baby's father's name and shows Traci taking her son to Nice is a game-changer for The Young and the Restless. It might change Traci's personality, upend the Abbott family's dynamics, and bring in fresh disputes that might have an impact on Genoa City for months to come. The emotional and narrative stakes are strong regardless of whether the father is a well-known figure or a startling new one. Traci Abbott will take center stage in a manner not seen in years thanks to this plot, which promises to provide the drama, heartache, and intrigue that viewers of the program have been craving. Fans of The Young and the Restless have always celebrated Traci Abbott's return to Genoa City, but her most recent visit is expected to stun the Abbott family as a whole and beyond. Traci is not coming alone this time. She is bringing her little son, whose existence many people in Genoa City were unaware of. His presence also brings with it the disclosure of a long-kept secret, the baby's father's identity. As the Abbott family struggles with this unexpected addition to their history, the news is sure to elicit drama, old scars, and surprising alliances. In the Abbott clan, Traci has always been the more reserved and caring one. She frequently acts as the calm voice in the midst of the mayhem that usually envelopes her siblings, Ashley and Jack. There may be more to this story than meets the eye, though, given her decision to conceal her son's paternity for such a long time. Since Traci has rarely been at the center of romantic controversies in comparison to the rest of her family, fans have long conjectured about her love life. Now that the truth is finally being revealed, relationships will undoubtedly be redefined in ways that no one could have predicted. Traci's announcement could not have come at a more dramatic moment. A new successor, particularly one whose father's name is unknown, complicates an already unstable situation for the Abbott family, which is already entangled in power conflicts, corporate takeovers, and personal betrayals. Is the father a new character who is going to cause even more disruption, or could he be someone from Traci's past who is well known to Genoa City residents? There are countless options, and this bombshell's aftermath will surely have long-lasting effects. The dynamics between these influential families may change significantly if the father has connections to the Abbott's rivals, such the Newmans or even the Chancellors. On the other hand, there might be an intriguing cultural conflict in the Abbott home if the father comes from Traci's literary or scholarly circles, completely different from the competitive world of Genoa City's economic elite. Traci's siblings, Jack and Ashley, will react strongly to this information. Traci's boy might be both a blessing and a potential problem for Jack, who has always taken pride in being the family's patriarch, particularly if the child's father has any claim to the Abbott fortune. Given her own complex past involving family secrets and a concealed paternity, Ashley might sympathize with Traci, or she might be annoyed by yet another revelation that upends the family's carefully cultivated image. Billy Abbott, who has been working to turn his life around and restore his reputation, may discover that he unexpectedly connects with his new nephew and sees an opportunity to redefine what it means to be an Abbott. Not to mention the younger generation, Kyle Abbott and Theo Vanderway, who, depending on how the family's power struggles unfold, may see this new cousin as a threat or an ally. Then there's the matter of how Traci's connections outside of her family will be impacted by this disclosure. If Lauren knew the truth and chose to keep it a secret, or if the father's identity somehow relates to Lauren's own complicated background, her strong connection with Lauren Fenmore may be put to the test. Characters like Phyllis Summers or Nick Newman might also become entangled in the drama if the baby's father has ties to Genoa City's less respectable quarters. Even Victor Newman, who is constantly plotting and observing, might perceive a chance to take advantage of this new weakness in the Abbott family's defenses. Traci's choice to disclose her son's paternity will have repercussions throughout The Young and the Restless, sparking old disputes and causing new ones. This is a terrible and liberating moment for Traci herself. She has been shielding her son from the attention and pressure that comes with being an Abbott for years, but now that he is in the spotlight, she will have to deal with the difficulties of raising him in a society where family names are significant and where adversaries are constantly looking for an opportunity to exploit her. Will the reaction from her friends and family make her withdraw once more, or will she find courage in finally speaking the truth? And with family he might not even know, how will her son adapt to life in Genoa City? One of the most interesting plotlines to follow will be Traci's experience as a mother in the spotlight, and the emotional stakes are extremely high. Naturally, there must be a twist to any significant revelation in a soap opera, and The Young and the Restless is no exception. Maybe the father isn't who he seems to be, perhaps there's a startling link to another important character, or maybe the man Traci thinks is the father isn't actually the biological parent. Fans may anticipate many surprises as the world of daytime drama is filled with DNA tests, long-buried secrets, and unexpected reappearances from the past. Traci's life may get even more complicated if the father himself shows up in Genoa City either as an ally or an enemy. The Abbott family may face even greater difficulties if he has personal agendas. As the plot develops, fans can expect the high-stakes drama that The Young and the Restless is known for, surprising alliances, intense confrontations, and betrayals within the family. Usually the mediator, Traci can catch up in the middle of a maelstrom she never saw coming and have to explain her decisions while shielding her son from the consequences. The other Genoa City citizens will have to choose between being loyal to Traci, the Abbott family legacy, or their own interests in the interim. There is no doubt that the Abbott family will be irrevocably altered by this discovery, and the effects will last for many years. This is a significant turning point for fans who have followed Traci's journey over the years, one that at last gives her character the nuance and complexity she so well deserves. Traci is transitioning from being the quiet, encouraging sister to being a mother with a past that is set to clash with her present in the most dramatic way imaginable. Furthermore, her son's introduction to Genoa City is just the start. It will be interesting to see if he ends up being a cherished new Abbott dynasty member or a tool in someone else's scheme, but one thing is for sure, the drama is only beginning. The Young and the Restless is poised to deliver one of its most captivating stories to date, demonstrating once more why it continues to be a mainstay of daytime television with so many unsolved questions and possible twists on the horizon. The sun was just starting to drop over nice, charming neighborhoods, illuminating the cobblestone streets and the seemingly endless azure Mediterranean with a golden haze. As Traci Abbott exited the private charter vehicle, she held her baby boy tightly to her chest, a cozy blue blanket wrapped around him for protection. Her face was unreadable, although she appeared tranquil, her eyes betrayed a different mood. Behind them was a storm that had been building for months, perhaps even years. She had no intention of going back to Europe. This was a completely unplanned episode in her life. Not the lengthy absence from Genoa City, not the pregnancy, and most definitely not the difficult choice she was going to make, the one that would ultimately identify the father of her kid. Not daring to inquire about the bundle in her arms, the villa staff greeted her with kind smiles, having been prepared by a brief and ambiguous call from Traci the previous evening. Rejecting offers to help with the baby or carry her baggage, she silently made her way inside. The estate's walls were covered in memories, some harsh, some sweet, but all interwoven with the abbot's lengthy and convoluted heritage. However, she was no longer thinking about legacy. It was the truth. She had finished hiding. Traci had been carrying a kid and a secret that was so heavy it was threatening to break her at every turn for almost 9 months. Rumors had started to spread back in Genoa City as her absence lasted longer than anticipated. Unspoken queries between friends who hadn't heard from her since she left for her book tour in Europe, sidelong glances at the Abbot estate, and whispers in the fringes of society. In the hopes that the world might slow down a bit while she worked things out, she had made plans to leave in secret. Babies, however, don't wait. The results of love don't either. That night, Traci sat by herself on the balcony, gazing out into the horizon while the sea breeze lifted the tendrils of her hair, the baby finally asleep in a bassinet next to her. She kept thinking about how it all started, a harmless dinner, a bottle of wine, and a conversation that turned into something more personal and risky. He was the last person she expected to fall in love with. Nor did she ever think it would result in a child. However, life had a habit of taking a detour when Traci least expected it to. The choice to keep the child had its own consequences. She had wept herself to sleep on some evenings, questioning whether she had the courage or strength to raise a child by herself. On other evenings, she had felt strong and prepared to start a new chapter in her life that was entirely her own, free from unpleasant memories, past mistakes, or demands from her family. But like a ticking clock she could no longer ignore, the truth waited. Genoa City was well aware that Traci had returned to Nice. Jack had made 2 calls, his tone filled with worry and unbridled interest. Ashley had texted me simply, "Are you all right?" However, Kane's message was the most unexpected. "Heard you're in France," was a brief, almost indifferent statement. "I am also present." That was all. No inquiries, no charges. However, it was enough to make Traci's heart race. Since their unexpected entanglement at that charity event in New York, she hadn't seen Kane in months. What had begun as a friendship, 2 lonely people consoling one another, had evolved into something for which neither of them was ready. There was never to be any significance to the night they spent together. However, it did. The small, live evidence was now blissfully napping in a vacation cot on the French Riviera. Nerves squeezing her stomach, Traci decided it was time the following morning. She gave Kane a call. On the first ring, he responded. "Is it accurate?" he inquired quietly. She didn't need to give an explanation. He was aware. "Yes," she said in a whisper. "He's yours." She couldn't stand the silence on the other end for long enough. She tightened her hold on the phone and blinked back tears when she heard a quiet whimper coming from the nursery. "I must see you," Kane responded at last. "I'll visit you," she answered. Traci was waiting at the entrance to the boutique hotel where Kane was staying an hour later. Something changed in his expression when he saw her carrying the baby, even though he appeared older and more worn than she remembered. It wasn't a shock. It wasn't rage. It was more complex, raw, human, nearly shattered. Kane stepped closer, hardly believing what he was seeing, and said, "He has your eyes." Without saying anything, Traci gave him the baby. He cradled the infant clumsily at first, then tenderly, as though he was worried that he could wake up and discover that everything had been a dream. "What kept you from telling me?" His voice cracked as he asked. Traci hesitated as her logic weighed heavily on her. She acknowledged, "Because I didn't know how. I was unsure of your response. Or if you'd like to interact with him in any way. I was afraid." Kane gave her a serious look at that moment. I would have been present. I'm present. Traci, I want to be a part of his life. Her breath caught. She never dared to expect it, but it was what she had hoped for. The days that followed went so quickly. Kane learned how to feed the infant, change him, and calm his crying by spending as much time as possible with him. Even if he wasn't flawless, Traci valued his presence more than words could convey. They slowly resumed their conversation, discussing the past, that evening, and what their future would hold at this point. Not yet, it wasn't romantic. It was too much to sort out. However, there was deference. Honesty was present. And that was more than sufficient. Meanwhile, word had finally spread about Traci's homecoming and her baby back in Genoa City. Still in shock and protective, Jack made the reservation on the first flight to France. Ashley, caught between incredulity and worry, came next. The questions came quickly as they got to the villa and saw Traci holding her infant while Kane was by her side. Is he yours? Jack squinted at Kane as he asked. Traci gave a solid yes before Kane could say anything more. But, Jack, this is my choice. My life. Ashley, who was softer than her brother, said, my son. What is his name? Gently, she inquired. Traci looked down at the sleeping infant in her arms and grinned. She said, Nicholas Kane Abbott. I wish to pay tribute to his father. As well as my family. The room fell silent. Jack took a deep breath. For the first time, she genuinely meant it when she stated, I just want you to be okay, Traci. I am. The Abbott siblings adapted in the days that followed. They alternated between cradling the infant, attempting to comprehend, and asking questions. It was something else, not the scandal they had feared. A fresh start. Congratulations, Traci, said Victor Newman, who had learned about Traci's unexpected child through his numerous channels. Family is the most important thing. However, not everyone accepted the news with grace. When Jill learned who the baby's father was, she became furious. Unannounced, she flew to Nice and barged into Kane's hotel, demanding explanations. You got Traci Abbott pregnant, but you kept it a secret? She growled. Are you attempting to start a conflict? Kane remained steadfast. Family disputes are not at issue here. Jill looked at him for a long moment before gently nodding, this is about my son. Then behave like a dad, she said. No more blunders. Traci, who was watching the exchange from the corridor, felt a twinge of pity. Despite their infrequent disagreements, she had always admired Jill. But nobody's approval was at stake here. It was about acting in Nicholas's best interests. Traci and Kane found a rhythm as the weeks went by. Along the Promenade d'Anglais, they strolled with the infant, muttered vague plans to return to Genoa City, and even smiled a little, something neither of them had done in a long time. Unspoken emotions persisted beneath the surface of their complex relationship. However, the bond was present. Unchangeable. And gradually, optimism came back. I never imagined my life would turn out this way, Kane said to Traci one peaceful evening when Nicholas slept peacefully in his cradle and the cicadas murmured in the background. Traci, with tears in her eyes, reached for his hand, saying, but I wouldn't trade this moment for anything. Me neither. They sat silently together, watching their kid breathe in the moonlight, knowing that they had already faced the most difficult part, the truth, regardless of what followed next, scandal, questioning, or condemnation. They discovered something in that fact that neither of them had anticipated having again. Another chance. A household.